Yeah, you're able to hear me well, right? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm just opening the presentation. Yeah, this is visible. This slide, PPT. Hello.
Not yet, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, just a minute. Now this may be visible.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So actually, if anybody would be able to tell me if anything is there in your memory, if you would be able to tell me that what we discussed last time.
We discussed different scales of measurement like nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio.
Very
and
good.
We also discussed validity, content validity, criterion validity,
Yeah, very good.
construct validity,
Yeah.
right? And I think we just touched on the reliability part.
Yeah. We touched the reliability part, and I told you earlier that we are going to cover the most important aspect of reliability in terms of taking up the topic which is being widely known as convex alpha today. So I'll be taking up that topic. So broadly, as pointed out by you, this is very good, Girdharji, that you are able to remember it. That we broadly covered nominal, ordinal, ratio, and interval and ratio scales. Then we discussed that nominal and ordinal are being treated as the less important scales. I'll not be saying inferior, and ratio and interval are being taken as the important one, as the superior kind of application in terms of statistics. I told you earlier that if we wish to take nominal and ordinal data into our consideration, we are going to use chapter number 14 of the book. And on the contrary, if second is the situation, if we are in the position of using interval and ratio, we are going to use all other chapters of the book barring chapter number 14. Chapter number 14 is being specifically designed as non-parametric statistics. So title of chapter number 14 is non-parametric statistical tests. These are being separately categorized in chapter number 14, and other chapters are being sequentially linked. In most of the cases, in some of the small parts of the research, we use nominal and ordinal information for our analysis, but in most of the cases, in all the cases almost, we use ratio and interval data for our consideration. In most of the situations, this is interval data when we are in the situation of measuring the psychological property. I'll again be taking the example of buying intention. Buying intention is the psychological property. Buying intention is the intention of a consumer to buy a product. Suppose a new Indian mobile company has launched the product. So I'll be asking first that would you be buying it? Buying is being based on many things. So now if I would be catering buying intention, I would also be framing, I may not. I may be able to frame a variable like impact of pandemic on my financial decision, like that. Before 2020, this was not the variable. Now, that is what is I'm saying, that we are in the process of developing a theoretical model. This theoretical model may not be the permanent one. In the light of the available information and on variety of circumstances prevailing in this scenario, we are going to change the model. This is not change the model. We are going to modify the model on the basis of new available information. So buying intention or anything now may be having the serious impact of last year pandemic. So that is the story. So as I've told you earlier that measurement scale. So now we are going to now, as I've told you earlier that we may be using the nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio data. So when I'm saying that I may be using, so I'll have to understand that the kind of scale which I'm using is giving me what kind of information that I'll have to look into. So this is not the nominal and ordinal. This is my information being generated through my scale is nominal or ordinal or interval or ratio. So I'll be taking some kind of scales. So few scales are being used as non-metric scales. Few scales are metric scales. I would again be saying that non-comparative, non-metric scales are being adopted, would be used for chapter number 14. I'll change my statement and I'll say that we, in most of the situations, I would be using metric scale for my study. So metric scales are the issues of discussion for all the chapters barring chapter number 14. Why am I saying that chapter number 14 barring chapter number 14? I wish to tell you that for nominal and ordinal information, a different set of techniques given in chapter number 14 are to be adopted. And for interval and ratio information, a different techniques given in all the chapters, all the other chapters, barring chapter number 14 are to be adopted. So I must be very much sure that what kind of information I'm getting through measurement scales, which we are going to cater just right now. I would be telling you that what are these techniques. So these are the scales broadly divided in single item scales, multiple item scales, and continuous rating scale. So we are going to discuss all these one by one. So first of all, we are going to take the single item scales, right? Now I wish to ask few questions and then things would be clear. What kind of information would be generated? By seeing the question only, you all would be able to tell me that what information is being generated. Suppose I'm a researcher, I'm asking this question. These five. Now I wish to ask that answer, which is given in terms of yes or no, or maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is what kind of data? My scale is this. Do you own a car? You belong to which region? Like this. What information is being generated?
Nominal.
Yeah, very good. This is the nominal information. When these all, I'm not saying that yes or no is going to impact anything. I'm not saying that Andhra Pradesh is #1 ranking holder or maybe Chhattisgarh like that. So this is the nominal information. 1, 2, 3, 4 for symbolic representation. So for such kind of information, I'm not allowed, I'm not being permitted to use any other chapter other than chapter number 14, which is being titled as non-parametric tests. Non-parametric. When nominal information is being generated, non-parametric tools and techniques are being used. But generally, for our research, we rely on interval and ratio information, and the techniques being used are all other than chapter number 14, right? Now I'm saying forced choice ranking scale. So this is the ranking. So 6 are the brands. And I'm saying that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 is being forced. So from 1 to 6, you are supposed to assign the ranking. This is what kind of information?
Ordinal. This is ordinal.
Very good, very good. This is ordinal information. So see, what am I doing? On the basis, I'm saying that nominal and ordinal data. Nominal and ordinal data in the light of the information which I am generating for my research. So this information which is being obtained by this figure, by this table, is the ranking information. This is the ordinal information. I would again say that I am being strictly prohibited restricted to use any chapter other than 14. So for such kind of ranking information, chapter number 14 titled as non-parametric statistics would be used, right? When we'll take chapter number 14 and all that, you will be understanding what is the meaning of chapter number 14, why we take that. But right now I'm saying that because I would always be talking in terms of chapters, so that you would be able to understand that the issue which is being not discussed over here in this chapter is going to be discussed somewhere else in the book. Like I'm saying that reliability issue is going to be partially discussed over here in terms of internal consistency, but validity and reliability issues are going to be discussed thoroughly, completely as chapter number 20. But right now, because we are in measurement scaling and we have covered the measurement, scaling part is this: when ranking information is being generated, I'm bound to use non-parametric tests being available. Again, one more technique is being known as paired comparison. With the help of this table, we would be able to understand the paired comparison technique. So now these are the brands, and brands are being compared, and plus is indicating that the column brand is preferred over the row brand, and likewise. So can you tell me that this is what kind of information? Can you tell me this? This is what kind of information?
Is this ratio?
No, this is the ranking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
Ranking of the info. In one sense that can
Oh,
be
yeah, it's ranking.
It's,
Yeah, I'm only actually you're connecting with the two brands, right? So I thought.
1, 2, 3, 4. We are saying that which brand is preferred. Means I'm saying that from the row and columns, which brand is being preferred. This is again ranking information. So what am I trying to tell you, that we sometimes when we conduct research, even for such kind of information which is being ranking, and then when I see the chapters, people say that I am going to use ANOVA analysis chapter number 12, chapter number 12. So chapter number 12 would never be applied over here because the kind of information generated is ranking. If interval information is generated, which would be the case later, then I'll be able to use chapter number 12. Now constant sum scales. When I'm saying that this is the constant, means sum would be 100 or 10 is all up to you. But if this information is being obtained, this is what kind of information? Now you tell me. This is what kind of information? This is very simple. This is the ratio information.
Ratio.
I may be able to say over here that power steering, price is almost approximately 7 times more important than power steering. Power steering, 100 or 10 is my choice, but that is to be allocated in terms of 100 or 10. So this information is first time in the entire series of discussion. First time we are able to come across a scale which may be used for ANOVA. ANOVA is the technique which is given in chapter number 12. Otherwise, the previous discussion, barring this slide, was being based on chapter number 14 application. So one thing must be very much clear. Now there should not be any confusion that for interval and ratio information only, we are going to use parametric tests. So right now, we presume that the obtained information, and this parametric and non-parametric. So I'm saying that very soon we are going to divide our understanding in terms of parametric and non-parametric. I'm going to open a variety of dimensions of parametric and non-parametric. But right now, for this chapter, because title of the chapter is measurement scaling, I wish to explain parametric and non-parametric in the terms of obtained information from the scale. Otherwise, when I'll take up different chapters, in the light of the title of the chapters, I would explain parametric and non-parametric. So this is one base of differentiation between parametric and non-parametric, right? Is this clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Now, direct quantification scale. Sometimes because I am in the process of conducting the research, so I'm not being rather restricted by using the scale. So sometimes for my research, when I'll have to ask the information direct, I'm going to ask the questions direct, and this is going to give me the ratio information. How much is your salary? 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000. This is the ratio information, right? So sometimes I would be asking the direct information. Then quick sort scale is one scale. This is the different kind of thing. What is the important thing? Now we are moving to interval type of information. Now you see that with the help of the scales which we are going to use, we are going to generate the information in the interval information. And the scale which seems to be the most important one and is the most discussed one is the Likert scale. Likert scale is the scale where I am saying 1 to 5 scale. 1 to 5 where 1 may be strongly disagree, then 2 is disagree, then neither agree nor disagree, then agree, then strongly agree. This is the 5-point rating scale. It can be -2 to +2. Likewise, this is all up to you. But one thing we are able to understand that one point which is being incorporated in the scale is the neutral, 2 are the negative, 2 are the positive. Negative and positive is all, nothing is negative and positive in research. Negative and positive is my understanding of research. Price, one statement pertaining to high price may be a negative statement, but one statement pertaining to the similar high price may be the positive one. So negative and positive statement may be in the light of my research objective. Everything is to be taken in the light of my research objective. So I should not be deviating from my research objective, and incidentally, because we have taken the example, my intention, my research objective seems to be buying intention. It can be anything. Now you see that, yeah.
Sir, if you can you go back to 3 slides where you compared brands, Polar, Usha, Bajaj, Khaitan.
Yeah. This one.
This one. So here, actually, while talking, I also took picture from my mobile. So this is, you also mentioned here at bottom below, it's a preferred over the column brand.
Yeah.
Right. So it is a comparison. So it can be that ratio one, right? While there is a ranking is definitely there,
yeah.
But you also have mentioned comparing 2 brands, preference you have shown. So it also can be a ratio information, right?
It can be in one sense a ratio information. And what information is being, you are 100% right. I'll again be taking one more example. I've been saying that 1 to 5 rating scale is the interval information. I'm saying like that. Right. Few researchers, what they do, they keep 1, 2 in one category, 3 in one category, and 4, 5 in one category. So out of 5 points of rating information, they convert that into nominal information. Huh?
Okay.
Are you getting? So
yes.
5 scale points are being converted into 3 nominal information, 1 to 3. This is happiness, neutral, and unhappiness. If my research objective is like that.
Right.
So whatever I am doing, so what you asked that this may be in one sense ratio. Okay, I understand this can be. But whatever I am doing, I'll have to explain that. I'll have to write a paragraph, maybe many paragraphs on them, because the reviewer is going to ask me a question that what you have done that. This can be ranking. This is debatable. This can be ratio. This is debatable. So everything, what am I framing and what am I assuming, it should be having a solid background. Oh, what would be that solid background? I should be having the literature support for that. What am I doing? So interval scale. So I write that. I don't hide anything. I write that I have used interval scale for my data collection. For the sake of analysis, I have converted this intervally scaled information into categorical information 1, 2, 3. Earlier it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in terms of strongly disagree and agree. But for my research, I have converted that interval scale into the categorized scale in 1, 2, 3 category, because I wish to apply. My objective is indicating that I'll have to apply discriminant analysis. For that, a dependent variable is to be categorical. So proper explanation is required. We would not be doing anything in random understanding. So ratio can be converted into ranking, ranking can be converted into rating, but a proper understanding is being required.
Sir, can
Proper
I say
support
something?
is required. Huh?
Sir, can I say something?
You can say.
Sir, the previous slide only, which we
Hmm.
were discussing,
Hmm.
so that would be an example of ordinal scale, because it's very clearly visible that we have to assign rank to
Hmm.
we have to rank one brand higher than the other. But sir,
Yeah.
when you were explaining the definition of different scales, measurement scales, you said that any scale is ratio when we can say that something is twice of something or thrice of something. So
Hmm.
from this example, we can say that Usha is preferred to polar, but we
Hmm.
cannot say that Usha is twice preferred to polar, two times more preferred to polar. So can this be a justification of saying that this particular example is not an example of ratio scale?
No, this particular example is not the example of ratio scale. But what Girdharji asked, he said that, am I allowed to generate, even for this table, am I allowed to generate the ratio information if I would frame my understanding like that? He asked that. So I said that this table is the ratio, this table is the ranking table, this particular table. But for the same ranking table, I may be able to generate the ratio information when I would ask my questions like that. Are you getting
Right.
it or not?
Yes, sir. Got your
When
point.
I would change my understanding like that, I would be able to generate the ranking information or maybe rating information, maybe anything, right? So I'm saying just for one more understanding, I'm saying that 1 to 5 is ranking, 1 to 5 is rating. Ranking and rating is going to make the entire difference. Ranking and rating is my way of understanding, and ranking and rating is my way of explanation. I am going to present this ranking or rating before the reviewers, and reviewers are going to present comment on that. On the basis of that, they may accept my paper or they may reject my paper, or they may be sending it for major revision, minor revision. Whatever I am going to do, that is going to be scrutinized by the larger community which is being involved in the research activity. So I may write anything, I may presume anything, but one thing I must be understanding, that my presumptions, my assumptions, and my explanations are going to be judged by not my research supervisor. He would be one of the evaluators, but ultimately when I would write the papers, that would be evaluated by the external supervisors, and they are going to evaluate it on the basis of my understanding of research or the general understanding of research. So when they would be evaluating it, they'll be having their own way of understanding. Are you getting it or not? So
Yes, sir.
what, anything can be ratio. What am I saying? That I am saying that the somebody is having income 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, like that. So 1,000 is 1, 2,000 is 2, 3,000 is 3. This can be ranking also. This can be nomenclature also. So this is all my understanding. On the basis of my understanding, I'm just giving you example to explain that whatever I am going to do, that is to be justified and that is to be presented well, right? Now I'll move to multi-item scales, and Likert scale is one. And when I'm discussing the Likert scale, you see that I'm just presenting a scale so that you would be able to understand. And this Likert scale 1 to 5, 1 to 7 is going to be used widely in research. This is number one. And number two is, are you able to observe a peculiar thing in this figure? What is the peculiar thing? You are not able to observe anything? Anybody?
So that,
All are keeping quiet?
so,
Yeah, Chaitanya?
when we move towards green, the scores are high.
Yes. So what am I trying to highlight? That I'm saying that 3 and 4 are being negatively phrased, and 1, 2, and 4, this 5, 6, and 7 are being positively phrased. So I'm having the two options, either changing the statements or changing the scales. Either changing the statement or changing the scale points. So once I am obtaining the information in terms of strongly agree and disagree, my questions should be properly star marked. Questions are being negatively framed. All other questions are being perceivedly positively framed. So in that light, I will have to either change the statements, one option, make it positive, or I'll have to change the scale points in the wider range of understanding. So we'll be keeping that in mind when we'll be using the Likert scale. I'll move further. One more scale is the
Sir,
semantic
so
difference.
one query. Sir,
Yeah.
are you trying to say that when we tend to measure positive statements,
Hmm.
so we should maintain consistency. So,
Yes,
for
yes,
example,
yes.
that had
Huh.
positive statements as well as negative statements, and
Exactly.
but the scale was same. So that is
Huh.
the problem, right? Consistency
Yeah.
should be there.
There should be consistency. Ultimately, I am saying that these 7 questions are being supposed pertaining to brand equity. What am I saying? I am saying that if this is going to indicate 30, equity should be high. Equity is higher. But what is happening that in terms of asking question 3 and question 4, I am asking it negatively.
Yes, sir, got it.
So
Yeah.
either it should be 5 to 1, 5-1 for the fourth one, or I will have to change the statement. So in that light only, in this light only, we would be able to maintain the consistency, because we people are mainly, all these 7 are not independent statements. These 7 are being clubbed to measure something. Suppose this is brand equity, just example. So what am I doing? That I am not actually measuring brand equity because 2 statements are negative in the computation. Ultimately, I'll be taking the average summated score. Average summated. Summated means all 7 statements are going to form something. That may be brand equity, that may be brand image, that may be price, maybe anything. But because of the 3 and 4, there would be inconsistency in terms of understanding. Are you getting my point? What I'm saying?
Yes, sir, understood.
Okay, okay. Others, so 2 are the options. Change the statement, change the scale. Now semantic differential. Semantic differential scale, again same 7 points. Strong, weak, favorable, unfavorable, like that. For obtaining unbiased information, what we do, we change the both the poles of strong is here, weak is there on the right side. Sometimes I'll be framing weak over here, strong over there, so that inequity is over here. Inequity is negatives in one sense, equity is over there, moral immoral. So I would not be following the systematic pattern over here, because respondents are having the tendency of picking up the point. So if I'll not be changing it up, then they'll be consistently answering the question 55555 like that. They are having this tendency. In order to avoid that, we may not avoid many things in conducting research. But we are in the process of, by using all such kind of tools and techniques, we are in the process of minimizing the errors. Very soon I would explain that we would bound to commit error in research. What error? Statistically explained, that I'll tell you later. Staple scale is this. Just go through this. This is one way of asking the question. Even this scale can be converted into a Likert scale. The previous scale can be converted into a Likert scale, right? So this is all up to me. This arrangement is up to me. In what manner I wish to get the answer. Ultimately, by these scales, the answer generated would be the metric one. So what, in whatever, this can be combined of 2 kind of scales, but I need to get the metric information. by applying these kind of skills. Then numerical scale is the direct answering the question. This is the numerical, definitely by, not by, in between. Sometimes I'll be having the option of asking questions like this. Maybe this is going to give the ratio information or interval information up to one extent. That I'll be asking very important to not important, you place a mark over there. I'm not saying that you write very important and not important in between 1 to 7. You place a mark over there. Then I may be able to ask a question that how do you feel? That sometimes you see what happens that toy industry is the great industry. When your purchasers are the little kids, so they do not understand 1 to 5 scale and 1 to 7 scale. So I'll be placing a happy mark logo over there, or maybe photo over there, and maybe very unhappy mark photo over there, and they'll pick in between. In any sense, I need to get the information. I need to get the information which is quantifiable, because my model of buying intention, even for a toy industry, is going to quantify my intentions. My buyers may not be able to, sometimes my buyers are illiterate, but anyway, I need to get the answer, and I'm having the liberty as a researcher to convert that into numeric figures, so that I should be able to apply the tools and techniques of research. I repeat, for one sake only, because we are taking a sample from a large, hugely large population. Large may be anything. Now in this global scenario, large can be 100 countries. Everybody's product is being available everywhere. So what may be the scenario of large, you may be able to understand. So for one sake only, sample is being taken from the population, and I'll have to present my result as accurate as possible, and we will have to understand, in the light of uncertainty, there's no guarantee of 100% accuracy. But we are so fortunate in statistics, we would be able to predetermine, pre-specify the error and the chance of committing the error. By taking up the other chapters, we will be discussing that. Now, these are the factors in selecting the appropriate scale, and all these you may be able to take it up. The topic which I wish to take up is the reliability analysis. In the chapter beginning, we all have discussed that validity is something, reliability is something, and by sensitivity is something. Sensitivity issue is being addressed by taking a rating scale 1 to 5, 1 to 7 is being addressed. Validity issue we are not going to address in this chapter, through this chapter, that is would be addressed in chapter number 20. Reliability issue would be partially settled over here. So we are going to settle the issue of reliability partially. I'll take the example which is given in the book, and which is, I'll just take figure number 3.10, and this is E-sequel scale. This is a famous scale developed for assessing the website quality. Website quality. This is a very famous scale, and Parshuraman and all these people, they have developed this scale, and they have written a book on marketing research. That book is being available. So this scale is like this, where 1 to 5 scale is being used. This is the most discussed scale, and even for this scale, which seems to be very simple, researches have been conducted. The variety of researches have been conducted on the basis of this E-sequel scale. So this comprised of 4 factors: efficiency, system availability, and all these. We are going to, for our understanding of reliability, because book is having the limited scope, when you would be executing the research, you would consider all 4. But for our understanding, in terms of the example being presented in the book, we would take only one, efficiency. Otherwise, you are supposed to repeat it for all. And we would take 8 statements of efficiency, which is given in the first segment. This is clear? Is this clear to you?
Yes, sir.
So, Chaitanya, this is clear?
Yes, sir, clear.
Okay. So I'll move further. This is important. We are going to take first 8 statements. What am I going to do? I'm going to compute Cronbach alpha reliability. This is being taken for internal consistency, and I will apply a software SPSS for that. SPSS has now become IBM SPSS. IBM has purchased SPSS. So these examples I have got for 10 respondents. Suppose you would be collecting it from the 100 or 150 respondents, but book is having the limitation. Book cannot present this kind of responses. So we have got 10 respondents for the sake of understanding only. So the data collected for the first statement on a 1 to 5 rating scale is this. Figure number 3.19. From 10, average of 10. And Cronbach alpha computed. SPSS is going to compute that automatically. Procedure is being given in the book, right? SPSS is computing that Cronbach alpha as 0.70 something. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Now, a broad thumb rule suggestion is being available. This. So for our efficiency scales, we are supposed to be occupying acceptable range, 0.7 something.
Yes, sir.
Am I right?
Yes, sir.
So that means our scale is internally consistent. Reliability may not be the issue. On the basis of such kind of broadline suggestion, if I would have secured less than 0.5, I would have rejected the scale, or I would have done something else. But because if this is more than 0.9, we are excellent. But now this is acceptable. So in research, this is acceptable. Acceptable in research is a very good result. This would never be very excellent every time. If you are having the excellent result all the time, every time, I would raise a doubt in your result. So don't think that I would make it excellent every time. Excellent is doubtful in research. So your result is acceptable. Okay, good, acceptable. We are happy with that. We'll move ahead. How would we move ahead, and what is this? I'll tell you. This, you have seen that this is 0.669 something, and I'm going to use a formula of internal consistency. Before that, I'll take some table. This is in the acceptable limit we have discussed, and this table would be generated as the part of SPSS output. So first table 3.21 is generating the mean and standard deviation, right? And second table is generating the inter-item correlation. This is the correlation of every item with the other item. First table is the mean of all 7 items. Second table is the correlation of all the items with the other items. Now I'll take some more figures as the part of that SPSS output. And here I'm saying that inter-item correlation, most important one, inter-item correlation mean is 0.223 something. I'm going to use this 0.223 in the formula of Cronbach alpha computation. What is this formula? This formula is this. This is alpha is equal to, this is just for the sake of understanding. Otherwise, you are going to get the same result by SPSS. And for your research, you are going to just apply it directly. So you need not to compute it manually. But this is just for the sake of our understanding. What is this alpha? Alpha is number of items in the scale is K multiplied by that average. Average is what? 0.223. 0.223 is this part of, is the mean inter-item correlation. See figure number 3.23. Mean inter-item correlation. This 0.223 is being placed over there, and the Cronbach alpha is being computed as 0.69. Is this clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is what is Cronbach alpha. This is in the acceptable range, and this is going to deal with the issue of reliability. So broadly, I'm going to settle the issue of sensitivity issue by using the rating scale is being settled. Reliability issue is going to be settled by the acceptable range of Cronbach alpha, which is acceptable over here. So this is 0.70 is acceptable, is settled over here, right? Just for the sake of further understanding, because we are going to take up the chapters in detail. Otherwise, your issue is to compute the Cronbach alpha, take the acceptable range and forget it. But again, we are going to discuss something else in terms of the other parts of the figure. What figure? 3.24. Now you see that in this figure, scale means if items are deleted. So, मतलब मैं if I'll delete the first item of efficiency, scale mean क्या होगा? That would be the scale mean being given. If second would be deleted, तो क्या scale mean होगा? That is being given over there. Scale variance क्या होगा if the item is being deleted? So that is going to be discussed over there, huh? Or if I would delete the efficiency, third column of figure number 3.24. If I would delete the efficiency correlation between the corrected item total correlation, if I would delete efficiency, hypothetically, if I would delete the first statement of efficiency, the correlation of remaining 7 would be this 0.5 to 5 something. In this understanding, what is important? The last thing is important. The last column is important. When I am saying that last column is indicating what? Cronbach alpha if the item is being deleted. So what am I saying? That from the 8 listed items, if I would delete the first item, Cronbach alpha is going to be 0.64. If I would delete the second item, second statement, Cronbach alpha is going to be is 0.64 something. If I would delete the third statement, this is 0.70. Then if I will delete the fourth statement, Cronbach alpha is going to be 0.61. Likewise, I would be able to observe by delete, we are in the process of obtaining the high Cronbach alpha close to 0.9, 0.8 like that. So what am I observing? That if I would delete seventh statement, my Cronbach alpha is going to become 0.73 something. Now here comes the discretion of a researcher. As a researcher, if that statement is not important, I would be deleting that statement from the understanding of efficiency, and I'll go ahead with the remaining 7 statements. But as a researcher, if I'm having the discretionary power, if I believe that that statement should not be disturbed or deleted, and I'm able to compromise the slightly higher value of internal consistency, earlier it was 0.7, this is time 0.73 something. If this is compromised, this I can compromise, then I'll do that. I'll move ahead with the original 8 statements. But sometimes, because there is the marginal improvement only, sometimes after deleting one statement from 10 or 8, there would be the significant improvement in Cronbach alpha. Like my Cronbach alpha for 8 statements is coming as 0.54. If I'll delete the one, that would come as 0.70. Then certainly I'll delete that statement and I'll go ahead with the research. Are you getting what am I saying?
Yes, sir. Sir, and if we have, for example, if we take statement 5, if we delete that statement, Cronbach alpha will improve to 0.711. And likewise, we have 7 statement also. For that also, the statistic will improve. So, sir, here we have 2 statements, and suppose that these 2 statements are not important for me, and I wish to delete them. So, should I delete them at once together and then recalculate alpha, or should I delete them one by one, and at each and every step I recalculate alpha again and check?
That is all is our understanding of research. I'm saying that if I delete these 2 statements from the research, would that be possible? So what am I doing? I am disturbing an established scale. Right, that scale is being established. So this is not the simple deletion. This deletion is required when I'll be having the significant improvement in the scale. For marginal, when my issues are in the acceptable range, so I'll not be doing anything. Because what happens that once I'm borrowing a scale from the established academic parameter, I should not be disturbing that. But I am allowed practically, I'm allowed to disturb that. When I am deleting, what are you saying, 2 statements from my understanding of efficiency, and my Cronbach alpha seems to be improved one by one, or maybe combined together, means I am deleting one by one, but my Cronbach alpha is now coming as 0.90. Now I'll have to decide that I'm happy with the 8 statements with 0.70 as the Cronbach alpha, and would I be happy after sacrificing these two statements and then my Cronbach alpha is being improved? So my Cronbach alpha is that important for my research that I'll have to decide. This is number one. And second, which is the most important point, sometimes I create my own scale for my research. But this scale which we are discussing in terms of Cronbach alpha is being properly adopted. Once I'll disturb an adopted scale, I'll be having further issues. Right? Are you getting my point or not? For my scale, I'm having the liberty, but I'm using the another adapted scale, so I'll be disturbing the scale itself, which has been used by variety of researchers. So again, I'm saying that reviewers are going to raise serious questions on that. Why have you disturbed such very well appreciated and accepted scale? I may do that, but I'll have to have the solid reason of doing that. Just for the sake of marginal increase in Cronbach alpha, I should not be generally disturbing anything, because Cronbach alpha issue is going to settle the internal consistency of the scale. Once this is in the acceptable limit, we are happy with that. 0.8 and 0.9 is not going to disturb my research anyway. Once I'm having the score of Cronbach alpha in the acceptable range, I'm happy with that. I'll move ahead. Technically, I can do that. Practically, I don't do that. Is this clear?
Yes, sir, clear.
Okay. So this is what is the reliability and all these issues. There's already 150. So Abdullah is over there. This chapter is now complete. Now in the next class, we'll be taking the next chapter. Abdullah is here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Abdullah is here. So you have given me this. So one thing we can do that Friday 1 to 150 we can fix.
Friday.
Friday. Sorry, Friday. This is not Friday. Wednesday. This time.
This time.
Wednesday 1 to 150. We were in the process of scheduling the classes. So Wednesday 1 to 150 we are going to fix. I'll take it. And the Friday, and because you have given me the time slots, other classes I'll be informing you. Right?
Okay, sir.
We will be discussing. But Wednesday 1 to 150 we are going to fix. Wednesday 1 to 150.
Okay. When is our next
class? This time is being fixed. And because there's no such kind of, I've got a time slot of 2 to 2:30, so that may not be possible. So I'll be talking to you about the another class of the week. But Wednesday 1 to 150, I'm going to fix it.
Okay, fine, sir.
Right. So in the next class, this is what is all about your reliability, validity, and sensitivity. And we are going to discuss the issues in the next class. Maybe we are going to discuss questionnaire design. And broadly, it seems that I'll be taking a class Friday from 2 to 3. Would that be fine, huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Fine, sir.
Friday. Friday 2 to 3 I'll take. And Wednesday 1 to 150 is fixed for every week.
Sir, Friday we have other class at 2 to 3.
2 to 3 क्लास है क्या? अच्छा, तो मैं देखता हूँ, फिर मैं बात कर लेता हूँ. मैं देख लेता हूँ. उसमें अब्दुल्ला ने मेरे को भेजा हुआ है, टाइम स्लॉट है, उसमें से देख करके मैं टाइम, लेकिन वेडनेसडे का तो 1 का फिक्स कर लेते हैं अभी. ठीक है?
Yes, sir. Like since it was not fixed, other subjects has taken that slot for just for this week only. So that was
this week only. Okay.
Yeah. This week only.
So you are supposed to say this to the other person that we have already fixed this for RM classes. You didn't say that.
Yeah, but Sir has already mentioned that we have not fixed any time for, as today you has conveyed that Wednesday has been fixed. So since now you haven't conveyed that Friday has been fixed.
But Friday 2 to 3 is free, na? Generally, okay, after this week.
Yeah, from next week we will book for RM, sir. Like in this week it's already been taken. That's why it was.
Okay, so we can fix 2 time slots. This Wednesday 1 to 150 I'll take. Friday 2 to 3 we are supposed to fix it, but I may change it. Okay. But Wednesday, but you fix it up. Otherwise, even this time slot would not be available in the light of the 3 classes being available. Even this would not be available. So Wednesday 1 to 150 is fixed. Friday 2 to 3 is fixed. But I may reschedule Friday's class.
Okay, sir.
I may reschedule because I'm having the time slots available. Saturday is somebody is taking the classes even on Saturday.
This
Saturday,
Saturday we may have a class actually by Professor Manoj Dash.
अच्छा ठीक है चलिए मैं वेंसडे और फ्राइडे 1 to 150 फिक्स करता हूँ और फ्राइडे I'll be fixing it up as 2 to 3. Wednesday I'll take, Friday I may reschedule, right? This Friday is not possible, so we'll discuss and tomorrow is there any time? We will discuss. I may take it on Saturday. I'll discuss it with Abdullah and other people. That I may be. Abdullah, you are having any class on Saturday this week?
Sir, Saturday we are having a leave now for our projects and all.
What leave, bhai? So what time you are supposed to tell me what time of Friday? Actually, what happens that we are having other classes also, and even other classes are having these kind of flexible arrangements. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't happen, right? Yeah, Chaitanya, you were saying anything?
Yes, sir. I was saying that on Saturday from 11 a.m. onwards, I think we have CRM class for 2 to 3 hours because we didn't have any class for the whole week.
Okay, fine. So this Friday you are saying that is busy, 2 to 3. Abdullah.
Yes,
sir.
Yeah.
Not for VLSI, sir. It is for other branch.
Yes, sir.
ठीक है. अच्छा, not for VLSI. So one thing, now this is fixed. I am understanding the issues. Wednesday 1 to 150. This fixed will not change, and Friday 2 to 3 is fixed. We are not going to change it. Now I am understanding the problem. Then there would be a problem. Wednesday 1 to 150 fixed. Don't give it to anybody. And Friday 2 to 3 is fixed. You are supposed to tell it to everybody that these 2 time slots are being fixed for research methodology classes. Is this okay for you?
Okay, sir.
You are supposed to tell like this: Wednesday 1 to 150, Friday 2 to 3, right? Okay. So this Friday I'll decide that what is happening that in our class 11 are the research scholars, right? And Chaitanya is from management stream. Likewise, we are having the research scholars from variety of streams. So our class of research methodology is having some 6, 7, 8 dimensions. So arranging a class properly is very difficult. So which is why I'm saying that I'm fixing these 2 slots for Wednesday and Friday as discussed, and you are supposed to convey it to everybody, and we are not supposed to change it. Wednesday I'll take certainly. For Friday, if there would be the other time slot available, I may change it. But if not available, I'll take it on Friday, like that. Is this okay for you?
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm not now I'm leaving. You are supposed to ask the questions in the next class first, and then in the next class, I wish to wind up. I'm not sure that I'll take 1 class or 2 classes, but I wish to wind up questionnaire design, and then you must be ready for the assignment number 1 for 25 marks. Okay?
So please share these PPTs. Share these PPTs or notes.
No, I've already shared this too, and Deepen is going to. Deepen share it to Girdharji and Chaurasia Sahab. Chaurasia Sahab, you have received it?
Yes, sir. I have received, sir.
So many people have received. So you are supposed to write a mail to Deepen. He's having the link and he's going to share it to everybody.
Okay.
Deepen ko all the PhD scholars are supposed to write a mail to Deepen, copying it to me. Deependra is having the link available, and he has given it to Chaurasia ji and he has given it to Girdhar ji, and he's going to share it to everybody. You are just supposed to write a mail to him, right? For all the PPTs and everything.
Sir, I have one question. Sir, when we do something like a data science project, then we find correlation between continuous variable. Then it is necessary to find Krobach alpha between that feature.
I'm not understanding. You are doing you are computing some correlation where?
Between continuous variable. Then is it necessary to find means if we want more insight between that variable, then is it necessary to find Krobach alpha?
No. Krobach alpha is not at all related with correlation. Correlation is entirely a separate story. Krobach alpha is used only for assessing internal consistency. कई बार आपके रिसर्च में ना स्टेटमेंट नहीं होते हैं, कई बार आपके जो एमटेक के रिसर्च होते हैं उनमें कोई स्टेटमेंट क्वेश्चंस नहीं होते हैं, वहां क्रॉनबेच अल्फा की कोई जरूरत नहीं है।
ओके सर।
वो ये जो आर है ना, ये आर दूसरा कोरिलेशन है, और उसमें जो फॉर्मूला में जो था, एंड दैट क्रॉनबेच अल्फा इज यूज्ड ओनली फॉर इंटरनल कंसिस्टेंसी, नथिंग एल्स। So we must not be confused with correlation, the small r, and Cronbach alpha.
Okay.
If this is to be discussed, if this is important, then only we'll consider it. Otherwise, we'll not even think about it. When questions are not over there in terms of statements, जैसे भी हमारे efficiency के questions थे ना, वहाँ Cronbach alpha जरूरी है, लेकिन questions ही नहीं है तो Cronbach alpha कहाँ जरूरी है? ठीक है?
Okay, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Now I'm leaving. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.